Hi there, welcome to my 6th annual bird challenge where I'm going to see how many different species of birds I can photograph in 3 days. I can't believe that this challenge is 6 years old. I started it back during the first lockdown here in the UK when we were restricted from travelling very far, so it was out of necessity. But basically this challenge amounts to me trying to take as many species of birds as I can in a 3-day period. Now there are a few rules involved in this. I have to stay within a mile of where I live and I have to actually photograph the birds. I can't just see them. That's not enough for them to count. I actually have to get them in camera. So it's a bit of a challenge because last year I beat my score again. I got 38 species of birds in the camera. So this year is going to be a real challenge. Let's see if I manage to beat it this year. But either way, I know I'm really going to enjoy my photography. Because this is the 6th year that I've done this challenge, and you might have watched some of the previous challenges, I thought I'd start this video slightly differently. I've already undertaken day 1 of the photography and I've done quite well so far. I've got 20 species of birds photographed and I'll talk you through those shortly, but I thought the more interesting part for a viewer would be day 2 and 3 because that's when it becomes more challenging and I have to try and be a little bit more inventive to try and find different species that are not just the ordinary ones. So I'll talk you through now the birds that I've photographed so far. The first port of call was the hide in my garden because it always provides a good start to the challenge, and the first birds that I saw were a male and female pheasant, and then I got a visit from a wood pigeon that landed on one of my interesting perches. We've got a little dunnock, usually it's a ground feeder. Then we've got a blackbird again on the ground, but it also landed on the top of a fence that I've got set up as a perch as well. Then I really like this photo that I got of a goldfinch on one of my perches. Slightly less pleasing photograph, but it's a photograph nonetheless of a blue tit. And then we've got a greenfinch, that's a female, and then this is a male. Much more striking colours, as quite often the case with birds. We've got quite a few great tits that are visiting the feeders, and some of them are young. This one I think is one of the adults. Then this is a juvenile robin. Looks quite different from the adult version of a robin, but I am quite taken with a robin, and this shot here wasn't taken from my hide, it was taken while I was walking around, but I thought I'd include it because I do like robins. Jackdaws are very tricky to photograph, but it landed on one of the perches. Then this collared dove dropped in and landed on one of the perches nicely as well, which is always very pleasing when it looks a little bit more natural. I've got a chaffinch here, which is a female, and then a male version as well. We do have some mallard that visit the garden, but I also decided to visit my hide down by a pond. The only thing I managed to see there was some ducklings. Then I had a walk around and I saw a buzzard flying over, some swallows flying over as well because they nest in our outbuildings. Some Canada geese did a fly past, so I got a photograph of those. And a gull. Now I always struggle to identify gulls, so I'm not going to go any further than gull. But this starling was sat on the wires just outside our house. There seems to be lots of chiff-chaffs about this year, and this one was sitting in the top of a tree, but I also got one with some food in its mouth and one sitting on a wire as well. Now finally I got some house martins flying about in the evening sun. I'm going into day 2 in a really strong position because I've got 20 birds photographed so far, so that's a good base to work on, but I am going to have to be a little bit more creative with the locations I visit, possibly a little bit more patient to hopefully see something a little bit more out of the ordinary. And to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be a little bit more stealthy. I might take my little action camera at some point so I don't have to carry the big vlogging camera and the tripod. I might also just handhold my large camera and not take the tripod for that. That way I can be more reactive and I can get the photograph, because really at the end of the day for this challenge it's not quite so much about the quality of the photograph, it's more about just getting the photograph. Now clearly I still want to get the best photograph I can, and if I do improve on a photograph that I took on a previous day, then that's the one that I'll show you. A little bit unexpected, but I'll take it. Just randomly in the middle of this field, there's a lone grey-lag goose, but it stood up really nicely. It's lit by the sun really well, so that's a nice photograph. I'll take that. Just goes to show that a little bit of knowledge really does pay off. For the last 2 years I've visited this spot and seen a nuthatch going into this tree, and I've been here for less than a minute and I've already seen it and photographed it and got some video as well of it feeding the young in the hole. I've just followed the sound of a thrush along this hedgerow just here behind me, but as I got closer to it the sound disappeared and I didn't see the thrush. I did hear a chaffinch and a blackbird, but I've already photographed those yesterday. So at the moment I'm laid down in some long grass because in this tree just here behind me there is a white throat. It's making quite a distinctive sound that was quite unusual, so I didn't recognise it. So I've stayed here for a while and I think I've got some reasonable photographs. A little bit of local knowledge has paid off. I've come back to a field where last year I saw a skylark, and I've just seen it again this morning, but also the app has picked up a yellow wagtail in this field here behind me, and after waiting for a little while I eventually did see it. Now albeit it's from a long distance away, I've still managed to get a photograph even if the quality is not actually that great. Well, that's a bit of a YouTuber's curse. As I put the camera down, the yellow wagtail flew up into a neighbouring tree, sat up really nicely, and I got a much better photograph. I'm about to go into this woodland here behind me, and the app has picked up a black cap and a gold crest, so there are new species of birds to photograph in there if I can only see them. Was a little bit of an unexpected bonus. On these trees here a few moments ago were not only one, but two great spotted woodpeckers. Now unfortunately, even though I saw two, they only count as one to the total, but it was still nice to see them anyway, and they sat up right on the top of these dead tree stumps just here while I took their photograph. I'm about to leave the woodland, but the only thing I saw were those great spotted woodpeckers. The app did also hear a meadow pipit and a bullfinch to go along with the blackcap and the goldcrests, but I didn't see them. I think what I might do at the end of this challenge is go back through the records on the app and look at all the birds that it heard that I didn't see. I think it could be quite a lot. I'm sure I must be able to get a better version of a long-tailed tit, but I have just seen a few of them sat on some wires on the edge of this field, so that's another one to the total. This pond behind me is usually quite productive, but this morning all it's managed to yield is a coot. But it's still one more. That brings day 2 to a close on a really encouraging note, because so far I've photographed 32 different species of birds. Now it's not going to be an absolute walk in the park to beat my score from last year, because even with only 7 needed to beat my score, it's going to be a little bit tricky, but not impossible, because I've had a little think, and over the last few years when I've been doing these challenges, I've photographed at least that many different species that I've not already photographed so far this year. So fingers crossed I might be able to do it. So stay with me to the end of the video to see if I do actually manage to beat my total. Hi there, welcome to day 3. The plan is to do much of the same as I've done yesterday. I'm going to have a wander around with just my camera handheld, and I'm going to visit some of the same locations I visited yesterday where I heard birds but didn't see them. And it's already got off to a good start because we had a flock of doves flying overhead, so that's added to the count. I want to say a really big welcome to all of the new subscribers that are visiting the channel just recently. An owl video has gone nuts and has generated lots of new visitors. So welcome if you are a new subscriber. And if you are new to the channel and have just found it and have not yet subscribed, then you can do me a really big favour and click the like, subscribe and the bell notifications, because that'll help you stay up to date with all of my future photographic content. I'm back at the pond where yesterday I saw a coot. I was sort of expecting today to see maybe a moorhen, but I've been surprised because there's an Aylesbury duck out on the water. Now it was just very close but it swum around the side and gone round behind the lake. I think I just managed to get a little bit of video before it disappeared out of sight. I'm getting really close to beating last year's total. One more will equal last year's total, and 2 more will beat the record. Now I'm back in the woods where yesterday the app picked up blackcap, willow warblers and goldcrests. It was even a meadow pipit at one point. So maybe if I spend enough time here, I'll manage to see at least 2 of those. In fact, I'm going to find somewhere comfortable, and I'm not going until I do. I've been using the Merlin app to try and identify birds. Now, if you're not familiar with the Merlin app, I have talked about it in a fairly recent video. And it's great because what it does is it gives you a graph of all the birds that it can hear. But not only that, as it hears them, it highlights them as well on the screen. So that's great for actually spotting which bird is making a noise if you're not familiar with the call. And then the app has just picked up a goldcrest up in the top of a tree, and so I used the app to identify which call belonged to the goldcrest, and then I honed in on it and I managed to see it. Now hopefully the pictures will be okay because I was taking the photographs straight into the canopy and the sky was behind them as well, but I should have something fairly reasonable. The app has paid off again. It's picked up a willow warbler, so I sat down and I just waited for probably about half an hour, and it came and flitted about and landed in a really perfect position, and I got a lovely shot to finish off the video and beat last year's total. Well, what an epic 3 days that's turned out to be. I'm always a little bit trepidatious when I start these challenges because the goal seems so far away and so unattainable, but I've actually managed it reasonably easily this year. And when I've thought about it, there are at least 4 or 5 species that I regularly see that I've not seen and photographed over the last few days, and at least 3 or 4 others that the app has picked up that I've just not managed to see or photograph either. So next year, the goal of 40 is doable. So join me at about roughly the same time next year to see if I manage to beat my score. I do hope you've enjoyed that video, and if you have, let me know down below in the comments, or nip over to my Instagram or Vero account, that's at Oakden Photography. Leave me your comments there, and you can also see lots of my photographs. Now if you like what I do on the channel and you want to help support me to make future content like this, then you can leave at the gift shop. That's at Teespring. There I've got a range of merchandise on offer, so head off over there because the purchase really does help me out and it's very much appreciated. But you don't have to spend any money at all to support the channel. You can do that simply by clicking the like, subscribe and the bell notifications. It really helps me out and it makes sure that you don't miss out on any future content. Watch out for next week's video. That goes live on Sunday. In the meantime, you can go and check out this video just up here. But all that's left now is to say, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.